Good morning and welcome to Open Line. I'm Gary Bautell. This morning we'll be taking your questions on the Department of Defense dependent school system in Europe. In our studio is Dr. Nancy Bresell, the director of DoDDS Europe. Lucky Moore, the Chief of Student Activities, Wayne Hartman, Chief of Logistics Division, Bob Herdeman, the Chief of Public Affairs. And if you have any questions, we stand ready to answer them. Our DSN is 389-4595. That's DSN 389-4595. The civilian number is 0621-460-85-595. The civilian number again, 0621-460-85-595. The email, openline@afn.dma.mil. And if you check out Channel 7 of your PowerView channel guide, you can also hear the program there and get all that information as well. The information is also on the web at afneurope.net. We are also streaming the show on the web, and also if you happen to have the new AFN Europe app on your iPhone or your Android headset, you can hear the program there as well. Dr. Bresell, it's an exciting time. Europe is in the middle of a big transition, and people are moving, and things are changing. And what challenges is DoDDS facing right now in the process? I think right now we're concentrating pretty much on Heidelberg and Mannheim and what's going on here.
Well, good morning. It's a pleasure for us to be here. Thank you for inviting us and giving us an opportunity to talk about something that is of interest to many of your listeners, and that is the school system. You know, there's nothing more important than a quality education for your children, if you've got children, that is. And we are the people to deliver that. That's our mission. Probably our greatest challenge, in addition to just the exciting times, is how to deal with all of the changes that we're facing. As we face the government shutdown last week, to transformation here in this community and throughout Germany, my folks are on the ground dealing with almost like war game scenarios every day.
You mentioned the almost shutdown.
Yes.
What would have happened to DoDDS if we'd had one? Because after all, the budget's going to be a big issue for the next year, I suppose, because we've got, the Congress is not exactly unified on it.
Right, and who can tell what direction that's going to go, but budget for us too will be a big issue for the next couple of years. The good news is that had the government shut down, our schools would not have shut down. The schools would have continued operating just as they always do. There would have been no impact on student activities or athletics. Teachers would have been in the classrooms, principals in the buildings, and so forth. Our district offices, which provide direct oversight of the schools, would also have been operating. The people who would have been most impacted would have been people in my office who do budget, facilities, logistics, IT, personnel, and also at DoDDS headquarters. And we did have a plan for furloughing some of our employees.
Well, let's hope we don't face that situation again, but you never know. So right now, are there schools that are just closing in this area? What's the status on the current situation?
Well, we do have schools closing here, just in this particular community.
Okay.
Our two secondary schools in Mannheim are closing, the high school and the middle school. Now, the students attending the middle school will continue to go to school in their community. They will go over to Mannheim Elementary, which will become a K-8 school, and it will be called Mannheim Elementary Middle School. Our high school kids in the Mannheim community will be bused to Heidelberg, and I think that that's going to work out very well. There will be about 90 high school students next year who will start the year. And the other school we're closing here is Mark Twain Elementary in Heidelberg. And that's both of our school closings are going to be celebrated. And it's kind of a neat thing, it'll be the last celebration for those two schools. And Lucky, why don't you talk a little bit about what we can do with stuff from closing schools and how we can continue to remember them?
Well, actually, the Overseas Schools Historical Society is the only organization in the world that's dedicated to collecting and preserving the artifacts and the history of American overseas schools and telling the story of educating our American children overseas. The mission of this organization, which was founded by DoDDS teachers and by DoDDS administrators, is to collect, record, and preserve the unique history of our educating American students overseas, and an appreciation of all the contributions made by American educators and their students in the advancement of democracy around the world. When a school closes, it can send all of its yearbooks, trophies, plaques, any memorabilia they have to the facility that we have in Kansas, where it is preserved and placed on display. And at present, they're building a facility in Kansas to display all of the DoDDS history.
Wow. It brings home the point that a lot of people go to a school, it's in a city somewhere, and 20 years later, 30 years later, they can go back, they can have reunions. There is that piece of geography that relates to their history. And when you're growing up and you're in high school, I mean, that's the time you remember everything that happened, and it's a very formative time of your life. So that's very important. I never thought of anything like that.
Well, it's also good because there's also a reunion every year, a convention of all DoDDS retired teachers and students. And this year, I believe it's in Orlando, Florida, in July. And every school has its own homecoming during this convention time where they can all meet and have many homecomings. But you're right, I was at both, I've been to two schools that have closed, both Munich and Bad Aibling. And it's the place that the students can now, this is where the history is kept, because say the facilities no longer exist.
And these schools have been, some of them in operation for, 40 years? Or
I believe Munich was much longer. It was from, 1946 until it closed in 1992.
Yeah, so they've got some history to talk about. We're talking about schools at closing. What about facilities expanding and opening? Wayne?
Well, actually, we have 4 projects that are currently under construction. They are additions to existing schools. At Ramstein, Wiesbaden High School, Kaiserslautern getting a new multipurpose room, and Liberty, which is up at the Lakenheath Air Base, is getting a new gym. And these 4 projects, are all under construction. But at the same time, we are starting design, or actually we are in the middle of design on a number of complete replacements. Most of our program up for the last several years has been additions to existing schools. But we've been given the opportunity, actually the first time in a long time, to actually replace entire schools that have actually exceeded their life. Many of the schools that we're about to replace are over 50 years old, and they simply aren't up to the standards of an American modern school. And so we're now in the process of designing and getting ready to replace the Kaiserslautern High School, the high schools in Patch and at Shape, and the elementary schools at Patch and Shape as well.
Wow.
And this is kind of the first phase of a program to basically look and replace and improve as many of our schools as we can. If Congress keeps appropriating the money for us, we hope to basically make significant improvements to the facilities in all of our schools in Europe.
Your timeline, what does it look like for these new ones?
These new ones, the ones that I just talked about, the ones at Kaiserslautern is we're hoping to get it started the summer of 2012. Böblingen, we're hoping to get the schools down in the Stuttgart area started a little earlier than that, and Shape is kind of a 2-phase project. Part of it will start this summer, and part of it will start the summer of 12.
I'd like to remind our listeners that we stand by to take your questions here. DSN 389-4595. That's DSN 389-4595. The civilian number is 0621-460-85-595. 0621-460-85-595. You can email us at openline at afn.dma.mil. When we talk about installations like AFN is also going to move, but I actually have an email from, what was it? Melissa, who is asking about she understands DoDDS is going to have to move Is there any status on that yet?
Hey, Gary, good morning. Right now, I think that those decisions are still being made, okay. And the final resting spot for the DoDDS headquarters is still an unknown. Still looking through some options, but right now we're in Wiesbaden and we'll be there until otherwise decided.
The consolidation of facilities has been one of the big selling points for the military, obviously. Has it also been helpful for DoDDS?
That is one of the things that we look at in our schools. And we have many small schools that are operating in communities where perhaps we could create some cost efficiencies. Excuse me. By combining them with another school. Wayne, why don't you talk a little bit more about that?
Well, we've been working very closely with USRA, with USAFE, and with NAVUR to ensure that our plans are in coordination with theirs as well. It's really important that we know what their drawdown plans are, so that we don't come up short with the need for teachers to support the kids, or to make investments in facilities that are not going to be here for the long term.
The changes are sometimes difficult to predict, and because schedules are made and they're not kept, and people are supposed to move and they don't move, or more of them move than you knew were going to move. How do you control that? How do you plan for the future when you got to have X number of teachers and X number of classroom spaces?
It's very difficult. Of course, we rely on our military leaders to give us good information, and they're pretty good about that. But as you indicated, Gary, sometimes things happen that nobody predicted. And, for example, people could decide to leave their families in the States and come on an unaccompanied tour, and we know that happens. That impacts us. I can tell you that we are incredibly speedy and responsive when there is an influx of students in a community. We will immediately begin recruitment for teachers, redo the schedule, so I don't want parents to worry about that part of this transformation. Similarly, as populations draw down, we are not quick to move teachers out of buildings. We know that teachers have established a good relationship with their students. The kids are relying on the teachers, so are parents. So we try to keep the conditions in a school very stable during a period of drawdown.
Has there been a reduction overall in the number of positions as the drawdown happens?
Actually, we have not realized that kind of reduction yet. There has been a very small reduction in the number of students overall. They may be in different places, but it's been fairly stable for the last couple of years.
The DoDDS system is one of the best in the American education spectrum, and it's always rated very high. You're finding that the turbulence that we're in now might be affecting that, or are you still scoring good?
We're still scoring very well, actually, on all of our standardized measures. The Terra Nova is the norm-referenced standardized exam that all of our students in grades 3 through 11 take every year. And we score, as a total system, well above the national average, with many of our schools reporting scores in the high 70s and 80s, which is really excellent. On the National Assessment of Educational Progress, DoDDS, as a system, scores very high. We're in comparison with Virginia, or we're close to Virginia, Massachusetts, and other states that are high-performing states. And this is due in part to the fact that we have an excellent curriculum, good standards, good teachers, and we're a system that puts a heavy emphasis on academic excellence. One of the things I'd like to talk about, too, with our excellent school system is, like your organization, we're exploring the virtual realm for education. A couple of years ago, DoDDS stood up a virtual school. Now it's growing. our headquarters for the virtual school here in Europe is in my office in Wiesbaden. Right now we have 44 courses that we offer. You can get a high school diploma from DoDDS through the virtual school. However, if you are in an area where we have a school and we offer your course, we want you to take it there, face to face. But this is an exciting thing that I think is going to show us many options for the future.
This would be for people who are located in remote locations or just have no availabilities for the schools?
Yes. Could be a small high school, for example, where they offer, let's say, AP Chemistry one year and AP Biology the next year, but you need AP Chemistry when they're offering AP Biology. Or we have some computer courses that are only offered online, and that's a great way to do it, actually.
Is this just in Europe, or is this globally?
It is global. We have another hub in Korea, Camp Humphrey, and the third hub is in Peachtree City, Georgia. So the neat thing about our virtual school is that it is one generation above the old distance learning program, where, you'd watch a video and answer questions and fax your answers into the teacher. Now we can actually have synchronous instruction. A student can be sitting in Italy, another one in northern Germany, a third one in Spain, and taking the same course, and they can actually interact with the teacher.
Is this like Skype, or is it?
Yeah, kind of like Skype. A little bit more expensive than Skype.
Okay, well, that's great. I mean, you're also I see from the prep material that I've received that you're also now taking people who are reserving who are coming back to school again and signing up for the next school year. You can also do that online now.
Yeah, Gary. There's a new initiative launched that allows student or parents with students that are new to the school to pre-register for the school. Now, people that are already currently enrolled in school, they still have to go to the school to actual register. But the people pre-registering actually get all of their information and can upload it to the school. And one of the big advantages is when they get in to do the actual registration with the school, it saves them a lot of time, and they can have all of their documentation already included in the package when they get to the school.
You're trying to get people to re-register early as possible. Why is that necessary?
Well, it helps. That helps to determine the needs for the next year. Where they need the teachers, where the staff needed to put the school to do instruction.
Mm-hmm. And if the changes that we're seeing causes families to move in the middle of a school year, what problems does that create?
It depends on where they go. But we as a school system are pretty flexible. DoDDS has joined the Interstate Compact that about over 30 other states have signed on to. And this compact says basically, we know that military kids move a lot, and we're going to do everything in our power to ensure that their education does not suffer as a result of that. So one really obvious example of how this works is that if you transfer from one state to another, you might not need to take both states' state history classes. Courses have different titles in different places, so we agree to look carefully at transcripts to make sure that we give the student credit for what he took in another system. If you're transferring within DoDDS, it's pretty seamless. We have a curriculum that is worldwide. We have textbooks that are in use in Japan, Korea, Italy, Spain, Germany, and so that kind of transition is seamless.
The telephone numbers are, if you have any questions for us, the telephone numbers are DSN 389-4595. That's DSN 389-4595. We'd love to hear from you. The civilian number is 0621-460-8555. 595 0621 46085 595. The email address openline@afn.dma.mil. I also, in the prep material, found that you actually have an operation in Bahrain, and in Bahrain, of course, they're caught up in this upheaval, this democratic revolution that's sweeping through North Africa. What's the situation there?
Thank you for asking. Our primary concern is the safety of our students and our teachers, our employees in general. And for that reason, the school in Bahrain actually was shut down for several days during the peak of the demonstration activity. And this was, again, primarily for safety. Additionally, the State Department authorized a voluntary departure, a voluntary evacuation of dependents, and several people did evacuate under the State Department guidelines. They're supposed to be back around mid-April. It was a 30-day voluntary departure, and we hope that they do come back. But many of our students in Bahrain are also affiliated with companies and other governments, so they may not return. We have put a focus on ensuring that their academic programs will not suffer. If they are high school students, they can enroll in our virtual school to get their credits, to continue their education, and we're telling those families to be sure to enroll in a school wherever they go. The school's been open now for 2 weeks. They actually are having their spring break right now, but the situation has stabilized considerably.
And there is that situation in Japan now with the evacuation of American dependents. Is that affecting the school system there, do you think?
I know it is.
Okay.
But we haven't changed anything that we're doing. The population is just smaller. Teachers are all working. Schools are open. They are ready to take the students back whenever they return. Now, those decisions have to be made by other folks because the infrastructure right now in Japan, in the greater Tokyo area, is not very good. But on basis, it's very stable, and our office there in Japan is working to create conditions that will be very favorable for kids to come back. We've lost about a third of the students in mainland Japan. Most of that number is from the Kanto Plain area, which surrounds Tokyo, but some also in the Misawa area in northern Japan.
One sometimes forgets the dedication of the people who work for DoDDS and DoDDS, that they're willing to go places where things like this happen, and the cultures that are brand new to them, and all of the challenges that a normal educator would never face. I guess when you're in the system, you just sort of take it for granted. It's pretty amazing. The Defense Department has come out with a new budget plan. We are affected here. We broadcasters will be losing people and being shifted around and cut down. And DoDDS is also on that list, I understand, as to what has to be slashed and burned or whatever.
Well, I can tell you that we're not done with the slashing and burning.
Okay.
But for next school year, we were tasked to reduce full-time employees by about 50%, and we got a sizable budget cut. But the good news is that school-level programs will not be impacted. Again, we've managed to shield our primary mission, which is the schools, from any kind of cut, both staff and budget. Now, will they perhaps be impacted down the line if you continue to hold back on basic things that you need to do, improving your IT infrastructure, improving schools, maintenance and repair? That will impact the education. But right now, we're shielding the schools from any kind of cut, and the cuts will only be taken above school level.
You talked about the other activities and so forth. That's something that the DoDDS system is really spectacular on. All of the programs that you offer outside the educational aspect, like Lucky, maybe you can point out what kind of a spectrum we're talking about here.
Well, we have a wide range of course, the athletic activities, but also the academically related activities. For example, next week our future business leaders, the FBLA, will be convening in Garmisch for their annual convention, and they're going to have over 200 students participating. We just finished with our Model United States Senate, which took place the week before break, and we had over 100 students again who came together and represented the Model Senate. They took the roles of the president, the vice president, and the senators within the Senate, debated legislation that is actually being debated, budget, and other things within the conference hall itself. And these were a direct result of a lot of students participating in the extracurricular or taking like the contemporary issues class. We have our students who participate in Model United Nations. We have students that participate. We just finished also our Honors Music Festival, which the Honors Band and the Honors Chorus met with professional directors from the states and with some of our wonderful DoDDS music educators. And then they did on the 1st of April, 31st of March, did a concert at the Wiesbaden Chorhaus to show the work they had done. And we streamlined, we sent that out also. We had hits on over 37 states, also in downrange. We had hits so parents could see the students participating.
You know, just to add to that, we also had an opportunity for parents to text in. And so we'd get something from someone in Iowa saying, "Can you zoom in on my son or my grandson? He's playing the trombone, third chair."
And we had a similar incident with the Model United States Senate. The students from Bahrain, which had prepared for a whole year, were unable to travel due to the conditions at the time. But by streaming, they were able to type in responses and still play their roles as the senators that they had researched. So they could then send in their typed questions or responses or ask the chair for the floor, and we could use the virtual connection, the downline streaming, so they could still, the work they participated in researched, they were still able to do that. We offer also 2 wonderful leadership seminars, one for our middle school students, our junior leadership, and then we also work with the German group, and we do our international leadership, where the high school students can work with that, where they're taught leadership skills they take back to their schools, and they become the leaders within the school. We have future educators, which met in Garmisch in February, which are students who are interested in becoming teachers. We have quite a few of academic. In fact, this year we sponsor 21 academic activities for students.
What do we do for JROTC kids?
They have the
drills.
The drill. They're also the rifle championships.
Marksmanship.
And marksmanship. But the JROCT kids are also actively involved in these activities. The other big one, Creative Connections, and Visual and Performing Arts, which takes place in the fall. Over 200 students participating again with DoDDS instructors and also some contracted employees and artists from the States. We also offer, just for our seniors, an incredible experience in Berlin, where they go to Berlin as guests of the current government, and they're treated as VIPs. They meet politicians, they get tours of the facilities, and this year, for the first time, we actually were given a tour of the Chancellery and got to go into Angela Merkel's office area and into the boardroom. So the students really have a lot of very, very unique academic activities.
That's great. You wonder sometimes, though, this takes a lot of time, and how does that affect their education? The main focus or the main purpose of them going to school. I mean, it's I can understand if they're a musician, if they got to spend a lot of time practicing. If they're an athlete, if they're into the political and the club scene and everything, it takes a lot of time.
Well, like our athletics, even with our academic activities, they must have a 2.0 GPA to participate. So this is one of those ongoing things. And a lot of the students who participate, they are able to handle this. They do the athletics. We've had students who left from Model United States Senate that we then went and participated in soccer and in cross-country things. So there's this, the carrot to continue this. The students really want this, and if this is what it's required, they do it.
We were discussing before the show started how this affects grades.
Mm-hmm.
You would think that they would their grades would fail because their interests are divided, but no.
Well, we have done some tracking of grades, and for the most part, their grades do not suffer because they participate in student activities. These kids are motivated. They want to, as Lucky said, participate in their sport or their academic activity. Additionally, our teachers are great. They give them their assignments so that while instructional time is lost, they're not getting the value of instruction from the teacher. They are able to keep up with their work. And that's a requirement for our students to participate in any activity. They have homework.
And it was my assumption, and I think it's probably true, that when you are motivated enough to take up one of these activities and put the time and energy into it, you're also motivated to keep your grades up. And obviously, if you can't participate in the athletic program, if you don't have a certain grade level, then that's another motivating factor. I want to tell everybody you've got about 20 minutes or 25 minutes in case you want to call us. I guess we're getting all the information out since we're not getting any calls. Probably people just said, "Oh, you just answered my question." DSN 389-4595, DSN 389-4595. The email is openline@afn.dma.mil, and if you send us any questions later, we will get them out. We'll get them answered. The civilian number is 0621-460-85595, 0621-460-85595. Just call us up and give us any question we haven't covered. For some time now, the graduation time is coming soon, and for some time now, DoDDS has been going live to deployed troops so that they can see their son or daughter toss their hat in the air. Is that going to happen again this year?
It is, Gary. And started in January, we started tracking the units that were deployed and trying to figure out, who had parents downrange, and I think we're looking at about 13 schools that we're going to stream their ceremonies, starting on about June 9th. And we got people from Aviano, Lakenheath, a lot from Baumholder, Heidelberg, Kaiserslautern, Ramstein, and Bamberg. There's a lot of them, and it's just that I remember back in 2003 when we started doing this. It's a great program. It's an awesome thing for our service people downrange to be able to take part in this once in a lifetime event, for their children. Not only do they get to see their child walk across the stage, but they also get to see a personalized message that's done right and produced by the company that's doing the streaming. It's a great program.
You mean you individually find the people that are deployed on a one-on-one basis, or
that is correct. All of the students that have been identified with parents downrange, part of the program is they get to meet up with the video production crew and they do a quick message, hi mom, hi dad, and kind of walk through some of the things in everyday life that the parents have not been able to take part in since they've been deployed. So I think it just enhances what the parents get to experience.
That's a great program. I think we do have a caller, a question about the National Honor Society. Mrs. Lang, are you there?
Hello.
Hello. What's your question, please?
I am calling, wondering why for the National Honor Society, why the grade point varies so much from school to school within DoDDS.
Anyone care to take that on?
Actually, I would have to look into that. There are some very strong guidelines from the National Association that we have to follow. So I'm not sure about the GPA. Can you give me an example of?
Well, the national guidelines recommend that it has to be higher than a 3.2.
Uh-huh.
Most of DoDDS schools are 3.4 to 3.5. Now, Kaiserslautern School is 3.8.
Kaiserslautern High School?
Yes, in order to become a member of the Honor Society. And just wondering why it varies so much and why we are restricting some of our students from getting into this organization.
Ma'am, that's a very good question. I'm going to have to look into that for you, and if you'll leave us your contact information, I'll personally get back to you on it. I know that there is a lot of local autonomy for high schools to establish their own criteria for including students in the National Honor Society. But we also want to make sure that we're in line with whatever the national guidelines are for each of the categories. And I cannot explain why Kaiserslautern High School would be so much higher than other DoDDS schools, but I will look into that for you.
Yes, Mrs. Lang, please stay on the line after we finish our conversation here. Stay on the line, and one of our operators will take your email address or your contact information, and we'll get back to you. Thank you very much for your call.
Okay.
The National Honor Society, what comes somebody? I'm not really sure what that is.
Well, Lucky, do you want to talk about it in general?
In general, having been a sponsor of the National
Yes.
Honor Society, I know that national guidelines are that the minimum grade point average is a 3.4, and the school is allowed to set a higher, but that's a local decision. Basically, it's for students who are very active, strong leadership skills, community involvement, and also academic. It's a rigorous process for admission. Students have to fill out an application. A board within the school goes through each of the applications, and a lot of times will interview the students individually. But it's a broad range student who's involved in extracurricular, community activities, and also maintains a high academic average.
So this is something you put on your.
It's a very good thing to have on your college resume. It's sponsored actually through the National Association of Secondary Principals, and it's a same group that also does the Junior National Honor Society.
Speaking of your college application, DoDDS is quite helpful in getting. We have seniors graduating this year, and I'm sure that there's a process where you try to get them pointed in the right direction. How does that work?
We actually start when kids are still in middle school. We have a 6-year plan for post-high school, post-secondary life, and it does start in 7th grade. However, we review that plan every year. Our guidance counselors work with students and their parents to make sure that the kids are on the right track for what they want to do in their next life, whether it's college, a tour in the military, a 2-year program, a vocational program, vocational technical studies type of program. So we work very carefully and closely with the kids to help them pick the courses that they're going to need to get them on the road. We have guidance counselors in every high school, and I want to tell you that our ratio in DoDDS, in DoDDS, of counselors to students at the high school level is 1 counselor for every 200 students. That's pretty good. The national average is about 1 counselor for every 450 to 500 students. So the reason we kept it so low is that we know our counselors have a lot of work to do. Kids are transitioning into and out of our schools. That adds to their work. And we expect them to be focusing on academic counseling with our students.
Well, what about grants and scholarships and things like that?
Our kids actually do very well as far as scholarships are concerned. We assist parents and students with the scholarship application process. But one of the areas where we really shine I think, as a school system, is that our students get a lot of JROTC scholarships. Of course, we have a very strong JROTC program in our schools. We have a program in every single high school, I believe, in Europe. And our officers and NCOs are committed to helping kids get those scholarships. We also have a lot of academy appointments every year, which I think is, that's an education that's worth quite a bit of money for the students who get it.
What about athletic scholarships? In the States, it's pretty easy because that's where all of the teams are, and that's where the people who go out looking for, the headhunters, they're going out looking for talent, and they check out the basketball star in some high school or whatever. That's probably more difficult over here, I would think.
It is. But parents have done a lot themselves in terms of getting videos of their students performing that they can send off. And we have a lot of coaches who, believe it or not, are very, very interested in helping their students to get these athletic scholarships. And they work really hard getting the kids' talents known at colleges by recruiters. I remember one current administrator talking about the fact that when she applied for college, she found a little-known scholarship. It was a chess scholarship.
I wish I'd known about that one.
I know. She got it and made her life a little bit easier. But we hope that our schools are helping kids to identify where those scholarships are and helping them to the extent that we can get them. But in the case of sports, a lot of it is how much are the parents willing to do.
Talking about sports, the complication with DoDDS Europe is that the teams are from Italy to England, and now we have some consolidation going on, but is that going to help at all, or are we still faced with these long travel times for the various teams?
We are. On the one hand, you want to give students the opportunity to have a very large competitive circle. They don't want to just play the team next door all season and then go to a championship. All of our schools participate in the championships, which I think is great. That gives all of the students who are on the teams and those who qualify for the events an opportunity to compete area-wide. It's a pretty huge area. We have 27 high schools. But for regular season play, it's time-consuming and it's expensive to bus or fly the kids all over Europe. So they have a limited number of games where they have to commute like that.
Well, we discovered in starting to broadcast the championships the tremendous interest there is, and people, uncles and aunts watching from the United States.
Which is why we started doing a lot of live streaming of our student activities for the same thing. And we also have the same travel restrictions with our student activities. When you have students who arrive, it may take them 2 days to arrive. Example, lodges in Bahrain are always, it's a 2-day travel to participate in any student activity.
Yeah. And you had some changes. I think baseball was added to the
yes.
Is that working out?
Oh, yes. We're going to have our baseball championship May 26 to 29 at the Ramstein-Kaiserslautern area. I'm not sure where there, but between the two bases. And baseball's very popular. It's the national pastime.
Yeah, are you going to add chess too, maybe?
It's a thought.
I know you have a special education program. I was under the impression that it had been pared down something because there at one time, this is my my memory from several years ago, when I somehow was doing a report on the issue, there were not enough trained professionals to actually keep the program to the extent that you wanted it to. What's the status on that now?
Our special ed program here in Europe is a very strong program. We actually increased the number of locations where we will take all kinds of disabilities, even children who require a lot of support can be served throughout Europe, and we call those Category 3 communities. Ramstein, Kaiserslautern, for example, Wiesbaden. Most of your bigger cities offer the full spectrum, but in most locations, we are able to deal with every child who comes in, and if not, we will get the staff to do that. Facilities, well, our facilities have requirements, don't they, Wayne? For handicapped
right,
children?
In those large communities where we can offer a full range of special education. We also have specially equipped classrooms where we can teach basic learning skills and basically provide the type of facilities that they need to completely provide them a rounded education.
When you're new construction going on, are you required to do the wheelchair ramps and things like that as
yes,
well?
Our facilities need to be fully accessible to anybody with a handicap, and we're very keen on making sure that that is incorporated. And that's one of the challenges with building schools here overseas, is that we try to apply American standards to make sure that they meet the American requirements, but we are also working with a host nation, and they have different standards, and they have slightly different handicap standards than we do. And we need to make sure that the more stricter of the two standards are applied, so that our facilities basically meet all host nation requirements as appropriate, but also really our American schools meet the needs of our American students.
With all the turmoil in the transition, is the eligibility to attend DoDDS school system changing at all? I know you have different categories. People who are military obviously are at the top of the list, and their children get an automatic. But what's the status of eligibility to send your children to a DoDDS school these days? Maybe.
Mm-hmm. There's 4 categories, Gary. Just like you mentioned, Category 1 is any student of a dependent of a service member or a DoD civilian that's on orders, placing them here and receiving a housing allowance. They're space required, and they don't pay any tuition. If the student is a dependent of a person that's in the Foreign Military Sales Program or the Military Assistance Program, they are space required, but they pay tuition. The same with DoD contractors. If the student is dependent of a DoD contractor, they pay tuition as well, but they're eligible to go on Category 1. Category 2 is if you're federally connected and the dependent is a person whose parents work at another U.S. government agency other than DoD, then space is available for them, and they also pay tuition. Category 3 is non-command sponsored. Non-command sponsored. I mean, you're here, but you don't pay. You don't have housing allowance. You're not on official orders overseas, or on a special waiver category. And then space is available, and tuition is also free for that as well. And then the last category is non-federally connected. It's a dependent of a person who is not in any of the above categories, and that's a space available, and they also pay tuition.
Mm-hmm. And this is all determined every year when you see how many people are enrolled and how many teachers, how much classroom space you have. Sort of like, okay, we're going to have to move category, 2 into category 3 or something like that.
Well, it would really impact the space available students primarily, and we try to make a commitment to a family. If they're enrolled, we're going to continue the enrollment, and I think that is always our effort. We really make an effort to keep the kid in our school. It would have to be an extreme situation before we would not continue that child's enrollment.
And you have a program during the summer as well, right?
We do. We have 2 programs in the summer. The K through 8 program is an enrichment program, and Lucky will talk about it in a minute, but we also have an online summer school for high school kids who have who need to make up a credit. So, Lucky, do you want to talk about summer enrichment?
Yeah, this summer we're going to be offering a 4-week half-day summer enrichment program for space-required DoDDS eligible students in grades K through 8 who are currently enrolled in a DoDDS school. It's an academic enrichment curriculum that's going to be emphasizing math, language arts. It's not a remedial program. It's designed to support and to reinforce student learning through engaging high-interest activities. The program is going to run Monday to Friday for 4 weeks from 9 to noon, and we're not going to be providing transportation or lunch.
And we do have a priority for this summer enrichment program of students whose parents are deployed.
The program this summer is also going to use materials from what's called Voyager Expanded Learning. Students in grades K through 5 are going to experience primary and intermediate levels of mysteries. Students in grades 6 through 8 are going to participate in what's known as Media Magic. The program will also contain a component that's called VMath Live. VMath Live provides a game-like environment which engages and motivates the students. The students will be able to participate in real-time competitions of speed and skill in an exciting web-based environment, once more getting in the technology. There's going to be quite a few proposed sites this summer. There's going to be some in each of the districts. There'll be different sites. And it's going to run from the 27th of June to the 22nd of July. You can stop by your school and ask for an application, and application deadlines are all school specific.
You know, there as always surprises me everything you guys do. It's just amazing. It's like it's more and more all the time, and I hope that the new budget situation doesn't restrict that, because it's really worthwhile. And one of the things that I know you've been very active in, especially in the initial stages of the deployments to Iraq and then Afghanistan, are programs for kids who, whose parent or parents are deployed. That's still up and running, I presume, and even though the Iraq is pretty much down and we still have Afghanistan. So how's that going?
Every school kind of approaches things from their own perspective and with their own with the needs of their own students in mind as far as providing that kind of support. Our guidance counselors are a key component of support for kids whose parents are deployed. And our schools are welcoming environments for parents. We also partner with the Army as providing sites for their military family life counselors who come into our schools, work with kids and parents who are behind. It's a very emotional time. Stress is very high. And we really feel for our students who are going through this. They're worried about, their lives continuing as normal. They're worried about their parent who is deployed, and we want to do everything we can to support the families and the kids.
I recall several years ago, maybe 2 or 3 years ago, there was a shortage of psychiatrists and counselors. What's the status on that?
Well, we got some assistance, and we were able to increase the number of school psychologists that we have, and also our reduced ratio of guidance counselors came about partly as a result of that as well. Mm-hmm. We have one school psychologist for 1,000 students, which is a very generous ratio, and they're able to provide a lot of support for our kids.
We've got about a minute left, but is there... we've covered a lot of ground, but if people out there have questions, is there someplace they can go on your website?
Yes. Thank you for reminding us. Our website, they can get to it 2 ways. They can go to www.dodea.edu, and or they can go to eu.dodea.edu. We have a lot of information on the website. And if you've got a question that you want an answer to, call me.
Okay, that's the word. And we've just about run out of time. So we hope we answered your questions out there. Have yourself a great day.